Welcome back to Wrestling Flash. In this WWE and all things wrestling video we are going to look at Becky Lynch attacks Roman Reigns, the best and worst of Raw after WrestleMania Backlash, Beth Phoenix jealous of Rhea Ripley joining her husband, Alexa Bliss sends a 6-word message after Raw return, and more. First let's look at the best and worst of Raw after WrestleMania Backlash. Welcome to this week's edition of the best and worst of Raw after WrestleMania Backlash. It admittedly wasn't the strongest post-premium live event episode of the Red brand, but it certainly did enough to establish some of the storylines heading into Hell in a Cell. Some are going to be rehashed stories and continued feuds, while others will be fresh and new. Heading into what should be a great and stacked episode of Raw next week, here were the ups and downs of this week's episode. Number 3. Best. The end of Sonya Deville's authority run. Adam Pearce officially informed Sonya Deville this week that her run as an authority figure is over as the investigation concluded that she was, in fact, abusing her power. Her authority contract is now terminated and she is a full-time superstar again. It was also a setup for the return of Alexa Bliss, who seemingly took care of Deville in less than a minute. It was also a way of reverting to her old character while keeping one last thing from her Fiend run. It was a good part of Raw and an overall highlight just to see Bliss back again. Number 2. Worst. The finish to the United States title match on Raw. Cody Rhodes and Theory had a good match for the United States Championship. However, the match that was only getting better ended up getting interrupted as Seth Rollins brutally attacked Rhodes to cause a DQ. It's a big mistake that WWE is making with Theory by hardly having him defend the title and then making title defenses end the way they are. He's got a lot of potential, and if they want to have the best US title run since 2015, they need to do better with Theory. With that said, it was a setup for the Rollins-Rhodes feud to continue. Number 2. Best. The Judgment Day. Judgment Day is now the Judgment Day following the addition of Rhea Ripley. Ripley's logic behind joining the group was a bit odd, as she said she was sick of being used by fans who took her autographs and then sold them on eBay. Either way, that logic aside, she beat Liv Morgan, and the overall segment featuring the Judgment Day was one of the high points of Raw this week. It will be interesting to see how Ripley and Damian Priest get the rub from their association with Edge. Number 1. Worst. The finish to the main event. The main event was a WrestleMania caliber match between Asuka and Bianca Belair. It was a championship contender match, with Becky Lynch hilariously calling out WWE's logic of having to beat the champion to get a title shot. Either way, the bout was short-lived and it was clear that an interference was coming. Lynch interfered to signal that we will be getting a triple threat match for the Raw Women's title at Hell in a Cell. However, it was a dud of a main event between two future WWE Hall of Famers. Number 1. Best. RK Bro vs. the Street Profits. Raw began with RK Bro insisting that they still want to unify the tag team titles against the Usos. However, the Street Profits came out and the champions had a successful title defense where Riddle hit the RKO for the pin. We're still surprised that RK Bro has lasted this long, and the match against the Street Profits was the perfect way to kick off the show. Randy Orton and Riddle have been presented as a strong team and the best in WWE. It was a good opening clash on the night. Alexa Bliss sends a 6-word message after Raw return. After waiting for a long time, the WWE Universe finally witnessed the return of Alexa Bliss this week on Monday Night Raw. WWE official Adam Pearce revealed Bliss as the opponent of Sonya Deville, who is stripped of her authority powers and will just be an in-ring performer in the future. Interestingly, the former multi-time women's champion returned with a gimmick change. She made her way to the ring in a remixed version of her old theme song and also seemed to have reverted to her old gimmick to an extent. However, she still had the evil doll Lily with her, hinting that her dark gimmick was not entirely gone. In the match, she squashed Deville, pinning her quickly after delivering the Twisted Bliss. Following her return, WWE shared a brief clip of Alexa Bliss on their official Instagram handle where she asked fans if they missed her before adding that she was back. "Did you miss me? I'm back," said Bliss. Alexa Bliss was away from WWE television for a while before making her return tonight on Monday Night Raw. She last wrestled inside the Elimination Chamber in Saudi Arabia, where she was defeated by the eventual winner Bianca Belair. A former 3-time Raw Women's Champion and 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion, Bliss has been away from the title scene for quite some time now. Her dark supernatural gimmick started well due to her alliance with Bray Wyatt in 2020. However, following Wyatt's release last year, fans have highly criticized her and repeatedly asked WWE to bring back her old gimmick of the goddess. We did see glimpses of that old gimmick tonight on Raw, and it is to be seen if she completely drops her dark gimmick, including the Lily doll, in the coming weeks. Fans are excited to see Alexa Bliss back. Many want to see her return to the title scene and challenge Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship, taking revenge for her Elimination Chamber loss. We'll have to wait and see if that's the direction WWE goes with her. Beth Phoenix jealous of Rhea Ripley joining her husband. WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix shared a sad reaction to Rhea Ripley joining forces with her husband Edge at WrestleMania Backlash. The Rated R superstar collided with AJ Styles in a rematch from the grandest stage of them all. When the Phenomenal One was about to go for his finisher, a masked individual attacked him from behind, costing him the match. The mystery figure was revealed to be none other than former Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. She had dyed her hair black and was introduced as the third member of the heelish stable, Judgment Day, which also consists of Damian Priest. It was reported months ago that WWE was considering adding Ripley to the stable, which has now been confirmed. However, Beth Phoenix wasn't happy with Rhea Ripley pledging allegiance to her husband. She took to Twitter to share her reaction to it, stating, "Not her sad face emoji." This is not the first time Phoenix has spoken about the Nightmare. The Glamazon is one of the greatest female stars in the history of the business. She's a former WWE Divas and Women's Champion. She has also competed in the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches during her career. After her return on Raw in January, before this year's Royal Rumble event, Beth Phoenix named Rhea Ripley as one of the women she'd like to work with in WWE. "We got to take a picture together on Raw, which was something I have been wanting to do, because I wanted to see Rhea Ripley in her final form beside the Glamazon. And if our paths never cross again in wrestling, at least we will have that moment in time. But she is a talent I absolutely will love to work with at any capacity. She is awesome. The Nightmare is an excellent addition to Edge's new Sinister stable, and it could open a lot of doors for her. The group could also elevate her and Damian Priest. It remains to be seen how Judgment Day is booked in the upcoming weeks." Becky Lynch attacks Roman Reigns. Becky Lynch says she was referring to Roman Reigns last night when she tweeted about how she used to defend her title belt at every WWE Premium Live event. Last night, Becky Lynch shared a tweet that didn't sit well with her former rival Bianca Belair. The EST of WWE didn't have a match at the event, despite being the current Raw Women's Champion. When Big Time Bex tweeted that she used to defend her title at every event, Belair fired back at her for questioning her work ethic. Lynch went on to respond to Belair's tweet, clearing up her previous comments in the process. As per Lynch, she was talking about WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns in her original tweet. Since becoming the undisputed WWE Universal Champion in the main event of WrestleMania 38 by defeating Brock Lesnar, Reigns is yet to defend his title. The WWE Universe was pretty excited to find out who was going to be the Tribal Chief's next opponent. Unfortunately, the promotion didn't book Reigns in a title match at WrestleMania Backlash. Instead, he competed in a six-man tag team match. The head of the table teamed up with the Usos to take on Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, and Riddle. The hard-fought battle ended with the Tribal Chief executing a spear on Riddle and pinning him to pick up the win for the Bloodline. He later addressed the WWE Universe in a video and heaped praise on the Bloodline. "Cause I mean, look at it, there's so much riding on us. We have all the titles. I'm the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. I'm the greatest of all time." The Usos, the longest reigning tag team champions in the history of the WWE, the greatest of their generation, of the entirety of the business, said Reigns. Reigns has consistently been the top heel on WWE TV for a while now. His presence on the blue brand over the past 2 years has helped it garner big weekly numbers. It will be interesting to see what he has to say about Lynch's latest tweet. What do you make of Becky's tweets? Let us know in the comments section below.